And he was actually a creatively fun person.
Thank you. And that being said, when I just saw him outside, I said, "Where'd you cut that part where I slapped him in the ass?"
There's a part where I smacked Travis in the ass in the kitchen. I was so disappointed that was cut. I was like, "Where is that? I want to see you slap him."
I've actually moderated a lot of Q&As, and I don't know if I've ever done a Q&A with this many people. This is a big one. Wish me luck. It's my very first one. I'm joking. Ladies and gentlemen, are we all here? The cast of Finding Steve McQueen and director Mark Steven Johnson.
Listen, the only reason we're delayed is because of Travis Fimmel. He's out there, he's nuts, he's exactly the same way he was when we shot the film.
I'm sorry I didn't come sit over there.
But thank you everybody for coming out tonight. This is like a Jimi Hendrix night. You gotta be careful with this, it's like Woodstock.
Are we waiting on
Rachel here?
Yeah. Hi, you know something? While we're waiting, ooh, look at that. Hey. While we're waiting, actually, let's just get started, and Rachel will join us.
She'll join us.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
I guess the simplest way to start is just talking a little bit about how this project came together. What was the genesis?
Well, I first got the script from. Okay.
Hold on, Rachel.
Thank God. In the bathroom.
Hello. Sorry about that.
So now it's the real beginning.
Okay.
Hello. By the way, I don't know if I have the tallest chair, but I'm short, so I say thank you. So to start things off, talk a little bit about the genesis of the project. How did this thing get off the ground?
Well, the script came to me from our producers, Anthony Mastromauro and Silvio Miraglia, and it was initially sent to me, and they said, take a look at this, and I said, what is it? They said, a heist movie, and I said, well, I'm not interested. There's nothing I can do with a heist movie that hasn't already been done. So
sorry, Louis is getting a beer, man.
And they said just read it. So I did, and I read it, and I thought this is really interesting. It wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before, because every heist movie is always the same. It's always about, will they get away with it? The heist movie is always the planning of the heist, and then the aftermath. And this one was about the heist had already happened, so they already, they got away with it. So the opening is, Travis, as you saw, sitting down saying, "I'm not who you think I am," and I thought that was really interesting. So that already hooked me, and I realized, it's a love story. That it wasn't about are they going to go with the heist? It's is she going to forgive him? Are they going to be together? Are they going to somehow make it? And then I got hooked.
Talk a little bit about putting together this cast. Because this is it must have been like a blast to make something like this, because it's a whole bunch of people hanging out and like pulling a heist. And so talk a little bit about putting the cast together, and what was it like on set?
I think you can tell what it was like. It was just like this. It was great. I mean, it was like sometimes it's a struggle, sometimes it's easy. In this case, it was getting people together that were great, and they say 80% of your job as a director is casting right. And and then sitting back and looking smart for casting these people, and they're great. I mean, they're fantastic. And as I said to somebody the other day, it was like usually when you wrap people for the day, they go home, And everybody here was like they wanted to hang out. They'd wrap for the day and they would stay because what's more fun in Atlanta than hanging out with these guys? And so there's a lot of fun times, and as you said, like wrangling cats to get it all together. It's not easy, but. I'll leave it over to these guys. Guys, what was it like being in this movie?
Well, my films that get so serious, I really enjoyed this film because everybody on set didn't act like we were curing cancer. And everybody was in trying to be so dramatic all the time. It was just really enjoyable to make the film with a great group of people and an amazing writer and director and Mark. And yeah, everything's so serious these days. It was really fun. It's meant to be, we're in the entertainment business, and it's just, you're meant to feel good when you walk out of a film, not want to shoot yourself. In my opinion. Over. Amen.
You know, I'll just add to that, but it's really true. I feel the same way, and that's the way I've always, you know, whenever I make a film, some work, some they don't work, but I just want to have fun. I just want people to have a good time. You know, I want people to walk out feeling a little better than they did walking in. That's it. You know, that's all you shoot for. You know, so I feel like everybody here was in that same spirit of like, let's have a good time, let's have some fun. It was a really small budget. You know, everybody was in it because they wanted to be in it. Nobody's getting rich making this movie. They just wanted to make this film. And so that gives you a certain kind of energy of like, you film almost like you're doing a film school project, you know?
Sure. I want to go down the line so I can get everyone to chime in. I guess we'll start down here or whoever. But for each of you, talk a little bit about a day or two that you'll always remember from filming, memorable moments from filming.
Oh goodness. Well, I came to this film quite late. I think I was cast maybe 3 or 4 days before we started shooting, so they was really just kind
I
of...
always forget that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, they threw like a wig at me and then we started shooting. But what was great about that is all these guys already had this amazing jokey around you vibe that you can probably see from sitting here, and I was just made to feel very, very welcome and really enjoyed the vibe that Mark set, which was kind of about taking a lot of actors that I think typically do drama and empowering them to be funny, which is something that I'd never done. What he does is he kind of like lets you off the leash and you find the scene that way, and then Mark kind of takes you through a process of refining it to make it good. So it was nice kind of working in that modality. I'd never done it before.
Out of 27 years of making
Yes.
You have the microphone.
You really can't hear me. You can't hear me. Really? Raise your hand. Anyway, out of 27 years of making movies, this is probably
Can we
one
turn it down a
movie.
bit?
This is probably one of the best camaraderie of cast I've ever been on. And I'm sorry, keep holding anything up. All right, probably 27 years of making films. This is probably one of the best films I've ever had, you know, making with the cast. It was just like a family every night, having fun, having a blast, and it was great.
Yeah, I second that. It was really fun, and it was great. There was a real creative vibe on the set, you know. This guy started talking to the camera all of a sudden, and that was just something that came out of, you know, a creative freedom. I think that was fostered by Mark, and then, you know, we were in a small town in Georgia, and just, you know, it was fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but we were in that little railroad. That was that was for most of it. Atlanta feels like a small town.
Yeah, Mark did let everybody kind of do stuff, and he created.
A small town in Georgia. I don't know if you heard it called Atlanta. Backwards,
Travis,
I already
wait.
said my piece for this question. I had a lot of fun on this movie because it turned out that a couple of the cast members were from, well, you know, like Rhys from Jersey and Bill from New York, and it was just Anthony's wherever he's from, Lou wherever he's from, and obviously Travis from Australia. And it was cool to kind of, you know, hang out, and we were all from, you know, characters were from Youngstown, Ohio, and it was kind of cool to connect on that level, and we had a lot of fun. And I do remember one of the days we went to a bar and Travis like lit my hair on fire, and it was like my hair was all like hairspray and everything, trying to look all 70s, 60s, whatever. And it had a lot of hairspray in it, so it kind of like caught fire. And then like everybody was like swatting in the back of my head. So that was probably the highlight of my time, you know.
You're a Jets fan, so it's probably a good time.
Yeah, no, it's a great time.
Bill?
Listen, it was a horror show. From start to finish, okay? I don't know what these guys are talking about. The first night I checked into my hotel, it was about 11:30 at night, and Anthony comes over, our producer. Thank God he was there. Anthony comes over, he said, Travis is at the bar, he wants to meet you. He got halfway through that sentence, somebody flew through the air and landed on my shoulders, who I'd never met before, and was like, mate! And I'm like, okay, there's Travis. You know, listen, you look back on these things and you wonder how anything comes together at the end, but it is true what everybody's been saying. There was a group of people here that we spent some time together, and I'm usually a little bit of a hermit and go back to my hotel, but I didn't do that all that much. Rhys and Travis got a house to share. They asked me if I wanted to go in on that house, and I'm like, no.
But when we had a party, it was like 6 in the morning, and the one person up by himself was Bill.
I had to go home, and it was like my son had to go to baseball the next day. So I was living it. But listen, it's the captain that steers these things and makes an experience what it was. And our director, Mark, what a gentleman. The ideas, the trust, the openness, and him and Anthony and the whole group and all of these guys, gotta tell you, it's a very memorable thing. I'm glad I was a part of it.
Yeah, Anthony, can you come up here? No. Why not? This is the guy who actually put it all together.
Anthony, get over
Come here,
here.
Anthony. Anthony.
Come on, Anthony. Really? Come on, man. You're a big part of
That's
this
the
whole
guy,
thing.
this guy's from Jersey. He literally put the whole movie together. We're all his friends for a long time, and he did a great job. Take a bow.
Come on,
Do something.
come on.
Don't just sit there creeping at us.
You're also from Jersey.
But Anthony, you must have something to say. I mean, most of us are friends. Rhys was, I was, Mark was.
Was.
I'm not friends with either of you two guys right now.
Exactly.
Look, for me, it's something that I was developing for a long time. I think the original writer, one of our first writers, Keith Sharon, I think he's in the audience. I saw a clip on the news about this story, about this heist that this guy pulled off.
Hey, brother!
I did a Google search and I found this 10-part article that was written by Keith in the OC Register, which was a really great story. And I reached out to Keith and he said, I'm a screenwriter, which he was. He had, his previous movie was a movie called Showtime with De Niro and Eddie Murphy. And so he sent me the script and I thought it was really good. And we developed it a little bit and then we brought on another writer, Ken Hickson, to kind of get us home before.
And it was originally called Youngstown.
It was originally called Youngstown Boys. Actually, originally it was called Hail to the Thief, right, which is, Richard Nixon. And I was working with Mark on something prior, and I thought this might be something that Mark might like, and so I sent it to him, and as he said, he was like, I don't really want to do a heist movie. I was like, just read it. And he read it, and he called me. He's like, you know what, this is actually really good. I think there's something here. And Silvio Moralia, my producing partner and financier, he really had liked Mark a lot, and so we sat down with him and we worked on some additional ideas, and then the cast came together. I had met Travis several years prior through his manager, and who's also a producer on the movie, Chris Huvane, who's here and looks great, by the way. So Travis and I had known each other a couple of years leading into it, and we sat in the script, and he had some really great ideas of making it more fun and funny. And we kind of incorporated that into the script, and then then the cast came together from Travis on down, and Rhys is a very dear friend of mine, someone I really love very much and consider like a brother, and Louis not so much, but nonetheless. Louis is also a good friend. He was in another movie, one of my first movies that I produced. Louis is in.
I forgot about we're in another movie.
Yeah.
No wonder I didn't like you.
And these guys kind of came together. We got, really lucky with going down the line with Rachael, who was, just from the first day she came on set, Mark and I looked at each other and we're like, oh, we just hit a home run. And that's true. With Fichtner, Mr. Fichtner, I should say, the guy is he's just awesome. You watch the movie, he steals everything he's in. He's just fantastic. And Jake plays this incredible, subtle character who really pulls at your heartstrings, the relationship between, his character and the guy at the end here, Travis Fimmel.
They would just watch the film. You have to go to the whole
So anyway, that's kind of how it came together, and we certainly had a good time making the movie in Atlanta, and I feel very fortunate that we were able to make the movie with the people that are here.
Anthony, is Harry here?
No, Harry's not here.
Okay.
Oh wait, he is here. Harry, where is he?
Hey,
Harry!
Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Barber. Harry, can you stand up?
Harry, come on. That is the guy. There's Harry Barber, the man behind the movie, the inspiration behind the movie, someone who I got to meet and got to know really well through this process, because it was a long process. And his beautiful girlfriend, Darlene, is here as well. And so it's been a great ride, and it's been a fun process, and I'm really grateful to be here right now with everybody, and I want to thank everybody for that.
This film couldn't happen without Harry, but Anthony, all the credit to you, man. This was nice to meet you, by the way, Harry.
Yeah, you guys have to meet. Yes.
But without Mark, Anthony, this film wouldn't happen. So much appreciation to Anthony.
I'm always curious, this is a question for you, Mark. I'm always curious about the editing process, because ultimately that's the final rewrite. So talk a little bit about what you learned in the editing room, any changes you made, and did you make any changes as a result of any early screenings?
We didn't have any screenings, but that was the most difficult part of this movie, was that there's many timelines. Like, it's a kind of deceptively simple film, because you start out saying, okay, it's 1980. He sits down and says, I'm not who you think I am, when you flash backwards. But it's not backwards and forwards twice. It's backwards and forwards about at least 5 times. So if you think about it, like 1980 in the diner is where it started. It goes back to about 1970, when you see him driving the car and the 8-track tape gets stuck. He hasn't made the gang yet. Then you go about maybe 1971, now he's made the crew. 1972, now they're gonna go rob the bank, and then you see him go to California. Then suddenly we jump ahead 5 days, right? Remember it said 5 days later, and you meet Forrest Whitaker. And so it's already happened, and then you jump back again and watch them planning the heist. So it was a puzzle piece. That was the hope, to try to do something different and fun, to show it all out of sequence. You got to put it all together. So it was very difficult, because if the scene doesn't work, usually in the cutting room you say, let's just lose it. Let's get rid of it. It doesn't work. But if you get rid of a scene here, it all comes down like a house of cards. So it was a very frustrating movie to cut. It was fun. It was a huge challenge, but it was very difficult. And then on top of all that, when you got these 5 different timelines going on constantly, the fact that they broke into the same bank 3 nights in a row, which you've never seen before. Usually you break into a bank and that's it. You get out and you're on the run. In this movie, you break into the bank Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. And that was the truth. That's what happened, which is fascinating. And so, we realized later we should have made it bigger. I realized I should have made a bigger deal out of that, to make sure that people understood it was 3 nights. Because when you're jumping around different timelines, people don't know, is it Friday night? What's going on? Is it the first night, second night? What night is it? So it was challenging, definitely.
This is the moment of the Q&A where someone can throw someone under the bus. I'm curious, who ruined the most takes and why?
Travis. Because Travis.
Travis, don't look despondent. That's so obvious. We were all there.
I gotta look in the mirror.
Do you want to defend yourself, Travis, or are you acknowledging?
No, pretty. I agree. Yeah, I'm trying.
I'm just curious, because I've watched. I've been very fortunate, and I've seen a few people work on set, and someone like Woody Harrelson, every take he does something different. So it's interesting to see the actors around him having to sort of work with, changing it up so much. For all the actors here, I'm curious if do you sort of stick to it every take, or are you trying to tweak it and look for something different? How do you typically like to work on set?
I forget my lines every take. Pretty consistent.
Well, I mean, it depends on who you're working with also, and in the case, all of my scenes are with Travis. And because he is one of those actors that will experiment and throw something different all the time and speak in a different funny accent and make fun of you and do a million different things, it actually is kind of lovely in a way because it keeps you on your toes and you don't settle into that kind of rhythm, or you're not trying to repeat what you just did, which is a real kind of trap as an actor. It's actually always quite fresh. So in some ways, annoyingly, it kind of works, I think.
Yeah, and those funny accents are Australian and American. Hey, I'll never forget where I'm from. You know the audience.
Bill, what?
It is harder though when you're two Australians and you're doing a scene as Americans working opposite.
Don't
It
try
does,
to
it does
defend
get
it.
wonky.
No, it's Australia under the world, don't worry about it.
I am very curious though for the other actors, like how typically, what you like to do on set.
Who are you talking to?
All the actors. I'm trying to involve all of you guys.
What was the question?
What you had for dinner? No. I was curious just about like how you like to work on set, because some people like to change it up on every take, and other people, they're looking for something and they're very similar, in every take. And I just, basically how you like to do it in between takes, and just how you like to work on set.
Well, I think that, there were a lot of things, especially time constraints in how long we had to shoot the film, and some specific things, especially when it came to the bank. And it wasn't like there was a ton of time to let's experiment and improv all over the freaking place. Everybody had a sense of who they were and what we were doing, and Mark figured out the geography of that, and so when it came time to roll, we were all really in it and ready to let's make this work. We got somebody's crossing in, crossing out, throwing ropes, jumping up a ladder. True. So it was specific, but I think everybody was really solid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of time for mussing about, was there? Yeah. But we did have I think the important thing was we had the feeling of this camaraderie that we all came from the same place, and that was the important quality for the crew,
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, it is true, the movie was $5.5 million budget, which is very, very small. And so there's a lot of times that, when you watch the movie, that things that we would love to have another chance at, or a stunt that didn't quite work, or, there's a lot of things that you wish you had more time for, but you just don't. So it's going back to film school, it's we're all hustling, so there's not a lot of time to experiment and try things and whatnot. It's more like, okay, 3 takes and you're out, we gotta keep moving, so, and that can also bring really great creative, activity too. Once you know that you have limited funds, limited time, that kind of ups everybody up. There's no going back to your trailer and hanging out and waiting to get called. You're all just there waiting to go.
It was fascinating to see, you and Travis sort of develop the breaking the fourth wall thing on set. That was something that you guys, that was fascinating, because that happened during the making of, and it plays really well in the movie.
Well, it's interesting because it's the kind of thing that sometimes you do it throughout a whole movie, and we just did it for the first maybe 10, 15 minutes and we left it. And we thought, can we do that? Is that okay? And so there was a lot of experimenting. You probably felt it. We were experimenting sometimes, and maybe this works, maybe it doesn't, and maybe we can address the camera. But every time I felt like he addressed the camera, we had cut to Molly in the diner, and it was her reaction. So in a way, he was talking to her. So it wasn't like we were doing some breaking fourth wall, just to the audience. It was talking to you. So once we had that construct of, we're in a diner and I'm telling you a story about my life, I kind of felt like he was telling her the story.
I'm always curious if anyone likes to borrow things from set, and did anyone borrow anything on this set that you, of course, are going to bring back?
Jay's very quiet. We'll hand it over to Jay.
I have a like a belly shirt that I stole. Tie-dye blue and green belly shirt. And I took them. Fit me perfectly. And just a crop, perfect crop. Belly button exposed. I stole that.
I think you're gonna bring it back.
Yeah, I wear it all the time.
Just that, working with Mark was so easy as a director because if you had a great idea or something fun, he'd be like, yeah, do it, say it. Like even the ashes thing, the remain thing. Like if you had a good idea, he was very open and he kind of let you play a little bit. And I think that's great as a director and as a filmmaker in general, you know?
I felt the same way. It's interesting hearing you, I mean, obviously talk about the scope of the film in terms of budget and time constraints, because I never felt a sense of the clock ticking.
Right.
I never felt that I couldn't play or hang out. So you did a very good job at hiding that stress.
And dealing with these dudes, I don't, the stress he must have had, I don't even want to know. But he was great. If you came to him and he would laugh, and like he's got one of the best personalities as a director that I've ever worked with. I'm not even kidding. He would just laugh at stuff and say, do it or don't, just keep moving. And he was actually a creatively fun person.
Thank you. And that being said, when I just saw him outside, I said, "Would you cut that part where I slapped him in the ass?"
There's a part where I smacked Travis in the ass in the kitchen. I was so disappointed that was cut. I was like, where is that? I want to see me slap him. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the best cast, best films I've ever done in 27 years of filmmaking. It was like a family. It was fun. And he led the pack, and Anthony put it together. So I thank both of them for being sitting here talking to all of you.
I'm curious, you touch on, you touch on, you had limited time, limited budget, you're in pre-production. What's the sequence that you are just absolutely nervous to pull off?
I think it's, for me personally, it was stunts. Because if you don't have, first of all, well, I should say stunts and period. Period is expensive. You know, if you want to make a little $5 million movie and it's two people talking in a diner, it's easy, or in a road trip. But when you're doing a period film, you got period cars, period hair, period costumes, and it gets expensive. And songs, you guys heard all the songs. It's not cheap, you know, but that really was important to me to set the period. So for me it was that, and it was stunts, because when you only have, like people say, like, you know, why didn't you get the Mustang from Bullitt? Like, we couldn't afford it. You know, we could buy 2 cars, and so we got the GTOs, one to drive, one to crash. But the one that we could drive died. So we only had 1 car. So we're like, can't crash it. So if you look really closely at the when he jumps the car, the cops are chasing him, and he goes airborne, it's all cut, because we couldn't, you know, we were afraid that if it died, we'd be dead. So it's that kind of thing. It's like every, I've made movies with $100 million budgets, and then movies like this, like $5 million budgets, but it's funny because it all ends up the same. It all ends up in my backyard, like me with high heels, putting on cigarettes, insert shots. You know, it's true. It's always independent filmmaking at the end of the day. It always ends up back at my house. It's really sad. It's always like, that's a wrap, and it's really my house. You know what I mean? Doing inserts of shit. And, so it's very funny. But the stunts was the big thing, because you're like, if this doesn't work, you know, if you crash that car, we're done. We're wrapped. It's over, you know. So you're constantly worried about that, and you're just worried about money, you know, which you don't want to think about when you're making a movie, but when it's a really tight budget like this, you have to think about it.
This is a question, we only have a few minutes left, and I want to make sure that, I'm curious for everyone on the line, I'm curious if you remember what it was that got you wanting to be an actor or a director, like what excited you as a kid and said, oh my God, I want to do this? Was it a performance? Was it a movie? If you could share.
Oh God. Well, I'm an only child, and I think we're strange people a little bit. And I just remember as a kid having a bunch of games that were based in imagination. So I guess I could draw a link between the two. You know, I was hanging out on my own a lot, which sounds desperately lonely. It wasn't. It was lovely. It was a lovely childhood. But yeah, I think that sense of make-believe and play, maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
For me, it was Jaws.
For me, it was The Odd Couple. I was a big TV kid growing up. Gary Marshall was a huge idol of mine. Grew up in the Bronx. Did all it in 1980. Had the treetop TV shows on ABC. You know, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, and I used to watch The Odd Couple as a kid. I still TiVo it. I still watch them. I have them on DVD, and that's where most of my humor and my inspiration to become an actor has come from.
I saw Silverado in 70 millimeter in Times Square. When it came in, that was the first movie I saw in the theater. I don't think that I, at the time, thought, you know, this is what I want to do. I mean, I was 5 years old, but 6 years, 7 years old, something, I don't know. But, you know, the scope of that movie and the sort of cinematicness makes you wanna be involved.
Cinematicness.
For me, it was cinematography too. When I saw that movie with my dad, I was completely blown away, and I didn't even know what it meant to actually make a movie or what that remotely, you know, consisted of. But that was a movie that really inspired me and got me to really start paying attention more, I guess.
It's Tom Cruise in Legend. Wow, that's funny. It is funny. It is funny. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. I do.
Do you really?
There's a little film starring Joseph Swiderski and Count Dance too.
Is he still alive? Somebody.
My biggest inspiration is Louis Lombardi.
You broke it.
24 or Sopranos?
Oh, somebody's paying for this mic. It's not me. He said his inspiration was Louis Lombardi.
Thank you, Travis.
Don't give him another mic.
I don't know how I respond to that.
Pretty awesome that you all came out tonight.
So another question I've been asking a lot of people recently, and it's another one that's going to go down the line. For the actors, what TV show would you love to guest star on? And what TV show would you love to guest direct, guest produce?
Should we start down the other end?
Oh, definitely start with Travis. Yeah, Travis? What TV show would you love to guest star on?
Seinfeld.
But that's totally valid, by the way. No, a lot of people do classic shows. It's true.
Top Cat. Boy, you just dated yourself.
I'll say. Likewise, I'm sure.
Animal Kingdom.
For me, Mark and I have talked about this a lot. In making this movie, we kind of came up with an idea of creating a new TV show starring these guys called The Idiots. That would be my choice.
TJ Hooker?
Well, I don't watch much television, but I do go to the movies 3 nights a week, so I don't know. I don't watch much television. The Odd Couple.
I'll say The Idiots, starring these guys, and Rachael Taylor, starring you.
Hey. God, I don't know. I just when you asked that, I thought of 6 Feet Under, and then, but I don't want to play one of the corpses of the. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 6 Feet Under if it was still around. Travis just said Neighbours, which is an Australian soap that I was not on. Were you on it?
Everybody was on Neighbours.
Yeah, except us.
Yeah, they didn't get made, Joe.
Another question for the entire row. Do you remember your first movie or TV show crush?
I think I'm thinking of the movies like I get maybe like Bruce Willis in the first Die Hard or something like that. Yeah. What's that? John McClane. What a babe. He was great.
Tom Cruise, legend.
Okay, mine was my first date. I was 12, and we had one theater in my little small town, so whatever was playing, we went to go see. And her name was Patty Hoff, and I was in 6th grade, and I took her to see a movie called Looking for Mr. Goodbar. That was about candy. It was a very awkward walk home after that. Remember that? Who was the actress in that movie? Diane Keaton. That's my first crush.
Actually, Tony Montana's Scarface, 1980. Oliver Stone wrote it. I was a huge fan of Scarface. Still am, and that's probably one of them.
So he was your crush?
He was my crush, just like you are.
A few more people have to go.
Rhys?
Oh, I already
First
said
legend.
legend.
You're a legend. Legend.
I was talking, we were just talking about tonight, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. I was saying that there's nobody else that could just like have milk running down their mouth and make it look sexy. So yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer and Catwoman.
That went a little further than maybe it needed to be. The Catwoman thing, I saw like a kid, and then I thought, the milk running down. Well, now that you say that, Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you. Do you want to share, Travis, or no?
I was trying to Google Louis and he didn't come up on Google.
The truth is, we all have crushes on William Fichtner.
That's all right. On that note, I will say I appreciate you indulging me in the last few questions, but thank you all so much for coming out tonight to do the Q&A. Thank you for doing this, and thank you all for being here. Have a fantastic night. Thank you.